Welcome to our 5 getting started strategies for wholesale real estate. We're down to number 2. But before we get to that, remember we've already talked about one of the keys is building a targeted buyers list, going to REIs, checking with active investors, Facebook groups, LinkedIn, those kinds of things. Then we discussed choosing the right market. It's very important to get into the right market and learn it. So how do you know that? You can't do that with software. You can get an idea, but you can't know what you don't know until you see what you haven't seen. What do I mean by that? Well, as you drop in to zip codes, we know that areas change from block to block. And as you're looking, you want to look for houses that are boarded, vacant, just plain ugly. That's your main criteria. But what you're also looking for is there evidence of rehabbing going on in the area? And if you can get rehabbing plus new builds, then you hit the gold mine. So that's what you want to look for. They're not easy to find, but when you do, lean in to that area. And then you want to master lead generation. How are you going to do that? What's the bottom line in mastering lead generation? And that is simply this, is that you want to drive for dollars, talk to neighbors, put up signs, skip trace, rinse and repeat. And you're going to be looking for those distressed, vacant houses. You can also use direct outreach, sending postcards, but make sure that's targeted. A lot of people are getting real weary about the amount of postcards that they're receiving. So you want to make sure that you're sending those effectively. You can also leverage online tools, PropStream, Batch Leads, Zillow, FBSO to find motivated sellers. So there's plenty of different ways that you can do it. You can direct message me personally, and I can help you with a few as well. So that's number 3. And now, going to number 2, that's what we're talking about right now, understanding the numbers. Now, I call it the AIS, as it sits value. Taught this by a friend and mentor, Todd Dotson, who developed the first on-site mentoring component of real estate in the country. He has been a key guy in fulfillment for many real estate programs over the years. And the as it sits value requires that we know our area, we know the property, and that we can determine the value based on that. So knowing the property is getting inside. That's why to learn this skill, you have to have access and be able to get in the properties. Once you develop it and hone it, then you're going to be able to do these things remotely. But that takes a while because there's a skill set that's learned. So what I do is I'll do comps in the area, I'll drive it, and I'll determine, okay, this is what this house, let's say, for example, 175,000, a 2-1, 1,000 square feet. Now, I drive by that house and I look at it and go, well, that's definitely a homeowner house. How do I know that? Because there's trinkets in the front, the lawn's taken care of, and there's just a little stuff that tells you that somebody actually cares about living there, because when you're going by a rental that usually they're pretty trash. Not always, but typically. So you want to figure that out. And then you want to go by and look at the houses that maybe dipped in price and why they did. Same 2-1 for 1,000 square feet. Maybe that one sold for 140 when the homeowners sold for 185. Well, why was that? You can go look at it and see that it looks beat up, definitely like a rental. So That's the way I price it. And then you are driving, and this third house would not be on the list. Why not? Because it's boarded up, vacant, just plain ugly, non-insurable. That's a wholesale deal. So a wholesale deal can be right next to a rental or a homeowner. Saw them all the time when I was in Kansas and just in Tulsa the last couple of days. Kansas for the last 2 weeks, Tulsa for the last couple of days. And what I saw is that you can get great deals with the wholesale. But what you have to determine now is, how am I going to price that? So the as it sits value is what that house is actually worth in comparison to that rental or to that homeowner house. It's that simple. So usually I'll, based on wholesale, I'll start at 45 to 55 cents on the dollar for a boarded up, vacant, just plain ugly house, which does not have utilities connected to it. It may be all boarded up. The roof may have issues. It goes on and on and on and on. So you see that good house in the area for $170,000, and you come in and look at a boarded, vacant, just plain ugly house, and you're going to price that 45 to 50 cents, maybe a little more depending on your area, on the dollar. So that same house that's, let's say, sold for $185. I look inside, it needs a kitchen, it needs a bathroom, it needs new flooring, the walls need painted, the ceiling fans need replacing, all of that. Maybe forced air. Okay? I go on an average that this house is going to cost about $40,000 to rehab. Maybe a little bit more depending on some of the other stuff that it needs, and it very well could be. So you want to come in at about 50 cents on the dollar. So you do 50 cents for the first 150 cents for the second 85,000, because that good house is 185,000. You're coming in at about 73 to 85,000. Yeah, do the numbers, it's close to that. Now, you have enough room to make 10 to 15,000 yourself, to find a rehabber who can come in and put together a budget of what it's going to cost to fix up that house, and then also their costs, which what they'd like to get paid is between 25 and 30%. Well, you put that all together, and that's something that we help you do in our training classes, that can make a lot of sense. And then all of a sudden, you get into the house at the right price. Because if you don't get in at the right price, it's not a deal. And I found that out the hard way many times. And when I've been too aggressive to get a house under contract, but now wise enough to price it at the right price. So you've got to price it at the right price. You've got to factor in your repair costs. You've got to factor in what the wholesaler needs to make, what you need to make, and price it that way. And if you don't get the deal, you keep them on the line and continue to reach out to them. But you got to get it at the right price. That's how we determine the as it sits value. We'll see you in the next video.